So the way this whole thing came about is one of our staff members saw a grizzly bear track here during hunting season last fall. This is a big deal for American Prairie to see a track on our property. So one of the first things we did, I came out here with a colleague and we talked to our other coworker and we said, okay, where did you find this? What did you see? And we got a series of motion triggered cameras set up along this Judith River corridor. And we left, came back about 6 weeks later and checked all these cameras. And when I came back, it was just me. And the camera that actually photographed this grizzly bear was just up the river here, just downstream. And, you know, it was like getting towards the end of the day. It was the last camera that I checked that day. I'm sitting there as the sun's setting on this beautiful property and I'm scrolling through and it's, you know, cow, deer, cow, elk. And then here's this, the first picture is just the face of the bear coming into the frame. And the next picture is this perfect frame of this unassuming, probably youngish male grizzly bear, black and white, looking kind of just out of frame, and it gave me goosebumps. I don't know how else to describe it. The same spot that I was standing in, a grizzly bear had stood just weeks before, and probably for the first time in over 100 years that a grizzly bear could have stood in that same spot. It was an extraordinary experience for me. But more importantly, it's just an extraordinary place marker. It's an extraordinary event in the natural history of the PN Ranch, of American Prairie, of central Montana, of Fergus County. This is an animal that's just been gone for so long, and nobody brought it back here in the back of a truck. It wasn't brought in by a helicopter. Nobody shepherded it here, although the work of many, many conservationists working very diligently across the state made it possible. But the bear got here all on his own. Literally, we're witnessing the vanguard, the farthest east, the farthest into the prairie that grizzly bears have gotten in any of our lifetimes in a very, very long time. Grizzly bears are a prairie species. Those long claws that people associate grizzly bears with, rightly so, they're for digging. This is an animal that evolved on the prairies. We know the grizzly bears were historically most comfortable on the plains. You have an incredibly adaptive animal, right? It can eat just about anything and can really make a home on a lot of places. So they can live in the mountains. Obviously they do today. But when Lewis and Clark came up the Missouri River in 1804, 1805, what they found was the highest densities of grizzly bears was in the plains. By the time they got to the Rocky Mountains, they weren't seeing much wildlife at all, which included grizzly bears. I think what this grizzly bear proves is that with just a little bit of breathing room, with a little bit of tolerance, with a little bit of protection, focusing on mitigating human-wildlife conflict, focusing on non-lethal control of wildlife, is enough to allow these bears to recolonize on their own to the places they want to be, to define for themselves where their home ranges should be going forward. And we, as people, as land stewards, as conservationists, have the ability and the responsibility to make it so that that bear doesn't get into trouble, that bear does not become a conflict bear. It has not been a conflict bear. It made it all the way out here from the mountains like a ninja without anybody even being aware of its presence, probably for the most part. Certainly not causing any trouble. If we can keep it that way, and we have a recipe, a playbook for how to keep it that way, the bears will do the rest. The state of Montana, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, our state wildlife agency in particular, has done an incredible job, while grizzly bears have been listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act, of showing and leading and explaining to Montanans how it is possible to coexist safely and for the benefit of humans and bears in bear country. That includes things like hiking in a group, carrying bear spray, being very smart about the way that you hunt in the backcountry and occupied grizzly bear territory. It extends to ranches and other working lands in terms of securing food attractants so bears are not getting food rewards from human sources. We want them to eat natural bear foods, not human foods, not livestock foods. Keep them away from young livestock that are susceptible. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but the best resources that people could utilize for staying safe in grizzly bear country, or, you know, making sure that their property is kind of protected from unwanted grizzly bear attention. I can't recommend enough the work that Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks has done to put these resources out there and again and offer workshops in the state and teach people how this is possible. The grizzly bear is kind of like an unofficial symbol of the state of Montana. It is literally the logo of our state wildlife agency. And to their credit, I think you've seen the department really lean in on that and say, we are proud of the fact that Montana is associated with the grizzly bear. This is important to us as Montanans. But there are steps that we need to take to make sure that it remains that way. And we can keep our people safe, and we can keep our bears safe for that matter as well. And so there is just troves and troves of good resources about how to stay safe in the backcountry, how to keep your property kind of secured against unnecessary grizzly bear attention, tools that you can use, everything from guard dogs to range riders to bear spray, et cetera, et cetera. It's all available through many different resources through the Department of Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.